Charmaine Campo, and I want to welcome you to the Social Media Breakdown, a short informative segment where I'll be answering common questions from tutors, educators, school communicators, and others in the education space. Today's question comes from a passionate educator who wants to make a difference in low income communities. Hi, Charmaine. He says, I'm not a professional tutor, nor do I lead a professional tutoring company. I led a volunteer based tutor mentor program serving inner city kids from 1975 to 2011 and created the Tutor Mentor Connection in 1993 to help such programs grow in more places. Since 2011, I've supported that via Tutor Mentor Institute LLC. I created this group almost 10 years ago to try to draw the volunteer segment of programs into online conversation. Unfortunately, more people from professional tutoring than volunteer based have been joining. With that in mind, how can we reach kids who cannot afford professional tutoring, and how do we make long term programs that build social capital and help kids grow up in more places? How do we reach kids who cannot afford professional tutoring? Well, so first of all, it can be really frustrating when you're trying to create a program and you have folks coming in who are not necessarily the folks that you're trying to reach. You can find yourself spending your time on phone calls and emails trying to attract the right kinds of students, the right kinds of volunteers and stakeholders to engage with your child serving programs and help you make a difference. And it's frustrating spending on time on calls and emails with no return, or attracting these folks who really you have to try to figure out what to do with them. Maybe you have to restructure your program now. And you sometimes you don't have a lot of time to do that, and it can be costly. So, how do we reach the right folks, attract the right folks to our programs, and get them engaged? Well, first, here's an interesting statistic to consider. According to Pew Research, 68% of adults with an income of less than 30,000 US dollars used social networks in 2019. All of the social network trend lines have looked like this, so they're growing. And if you can reach 68% of adults in that group and generate a conversation, you're likely to reach the other folks via word of mouth. So, how to leverage social media to build long term relationships with families and grow your potential student base, attract the right stakeholders to your program, how to stop wasting time creating those posts no one shares or cares about, and finally get folks engaging with your content and interacting with your business online. Here's a few questions to consider. Number one, where are your customers? If you're trying to reach folks to volunteer in low income areas, or do you want to go on Twitter? Do you want to be on Instagram? Do you want to be on LinkedIn? Know what the social media platforms are intended for, and that's a great place to sort of start. Then try to consider what language your stakeholders, your audience speaks. And what I mean by that is not necessarily English or Spanish or Arabic, even though that, of course, is very important. What I mean is, do they talk about education in terms of curriculum, or do they talk about education in terms of what my child is learning? You should speak to your audience in the same language that they're using, and that'll make you relatable and gravitate those folks that you want to reach to your program. And then, number three, what are you asking people to do? What kinds of experiences are you providing? And is it responsive to the people that you are trying to help? For example, someone in a low income family who works 2 or 3 jobs may not be able to come to a location to receive tutoring services. So, how can you create a program that they can participate in? Those are some questions that I would consider if you're trying to reach low income families, trying to build a volunteer program that makes an impact in your community. And of course, these questions are so huge. So if you have follow-ups, if you want to brainstorm something specific, you can send me a DM. You can post your questions in the comments below, and I'm happy to chat with you. Have a great day, everyone.